You are walking across your property on a Sunday afternoon. Maybe you're heading out to check the fence line, or you're clearing brush after a storm. Your boot catches on something half buried into dirt. You kick it loose, glance at it for half a second, and keep walking. Just a rock, maybe a weird-looking rock, but still a rock. And that moment right there might be the most expensive mistake you will ever make. Because every year, people across America walk past, step over, and even throw away stones that are worth hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars. Some have thrown away rocks worth more than their cars. The problem has never been that these stones are rare or impossible to find. The problem is that almost nobody knows what they are looking at. Let us start with something you've probably seen 100 times and never thought twice about: agates. They're in riverbeds, along gravel roads, in creek banks, in construction fill dirt, sometimes just sitting on the ground in open fields. Most people who notice them at all think they're just pretty pebbles. And yes, a common agate from a souvenir shop might sell for a couple of dollars, but certain agates found in very specific regions of the United States are worth dramatically more than that. Lake Superior agates, for example, have been collected for generations across Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Michigan. They formed over 1 billion years ago inside volcanic rock, and their internal banding patterns, those concentric rings of red, orange, and translucent gray, are among the most visually striking of any agate on Earth. A well-formed Lake Superior agate with exceptional color and clarity can sell for several $100s. Museum-quality specimens have been valued at over $1,000. The trick is knowing what separates a $10 agate from a $500 agate. Size matters, obviously, but so does translucency, pattern complexity, and surface condition. Agates that display what collectors call fortification banding, meaning the internal layers create a shape that looks like an aerial view of a medieval fortress, tend to command the highest prices. And here's something most people don't realize. These agates were scattered by glaciers during the last ice age. They're no longer concentrated around Lake Superior. Glacial deposits carried them hundreds of miles south and east. People in Iowa, Illinois, and even parts of Nebraska have found Lake Superior agates on their land. If you live anywhere in the upper Midwest and your property sits on glacial till, which is a soil type you can actually look up on geological survey maps, you may be walking over valuable agates every time you step outside. Now consider something even more surprising. There is a type of rock found in the deserts of the American Southwest that most hikers mistake for a plain brown stone. On the outside, it looks like a sun-bleached potato. Unremarkable, forgettable. You would step over 1,000 of them without a second thought, until someone cracks one open. Inside, you will find crystallized mineral formations that look like they belong in a museum display case. These are thunder eggs, and the best specimens contain agate, jasper, opal, or a combination of all three. Oregon is famous for them. So is parts of Nevada, New Mexico, and Arizona. The state of Oregon actually designated the thunder egg as its official state rock. That should tell you something about how seriously collectors take them. A common thunder egg with basic agate fill might sell for $10 to $20 at a rock show, but thunder eggs containing fire opal, or those displaying an extremely rare pattern called a waterline agate, where you can see distinct horizontal layers that formed as mineral-rich water slowly filled the cavity over thousands of years, those can sell for $500 to several $1,000s each. Some of the finest specimens from Central Oregon have sold at auction for well over $5,000. And the remarkable thing is that ranchers and landowners in these regions have been kicking them aside for generations, literally rolling them out of the way to run fence posts. Speaking of opal, let us talk about one of the most valuable gemstones found in the United States that almost nobody outside of the mineral collecting community knows about. When most people hear the word opal, they think of Australia. And it is true that Australia produces the majority of the world's commercial opal, but the American West has opal deposits that rival anything found on the other side of the Pacific. Virgin Valley in northern Nevada is one of the most significant opal-producing regions on the planet. The opals found there display extraordinary play of color, the shifting rainbow effect that makes opals so valuable in jewelry. Black fire opals from Virgin Valley have sold for tens of thousands of dollars per stone. Some individual specimens have exceeded six figures at auction. And Virgin Valley opals have a peculiar origin story that makes them even more fascinating. Many of them formed inside petrified wood. Millions of years ago, volcanic ash buried ancient forests. Over time, silica-rich groundwater infiltrated the wood, replacing its organic material molecule by molecule. In some cases, that silica crystallized into precious opal. So these gemstones are literally the remains of ancient trees transformed by chemistry and time into something that refracts light in ways that still baffle material scientists.
But here's the part of this story that is truly remarkable. You do not need to be a professional geologist or own expensive mining equipment to find valuable opals in Nevada. Several fee dig sites in the Virgin Valley area allow the general public to dig for opals for a daily charge. People with no geological training at all have pulled significant opals out of the ground at these sites. A retired school teacher from California found an opal valued at over $50,000 at one of these fee dig operations. She almost left it in the dirt because she thought it was just a piece of broken glass. Let us shift to something harder, literally, sapphires. Most people associate sapphires with Sri Lanka, Myanmar, or Madagascar. Very few people realize that one of the finest sapphire deposits in the Western Hemisphere sits in Montana. The Yogo Gulch sapphire deposit, located in Judith Basin County, produces sapphires with a cornflower blue color that gemologists have compared favorably to the finest cashmere sapphires, which are considered the most valuable in the world. Yogo sapphires are unusual because they typically do not need heat treatment to achieve their color. In the gemstone industry, that is a significant distinction. The vast majority of sapphires sold worldwide have been heat treated to improve their color and clarity. Yogo sapphires come out of the ground already displaying that intense, even blue that gem buyers pay premium prices for. A high-quality Yogo sapphire of 1 carat or more can easily sell for several $1,000s per carat, and the deposit stretches for miles through Montana ranch country. Ranchers have been finding blue stones in their soil for well over a century. Gold prospectors actually discovered the sapphires in the 1890s. They were annoyed by the small blue pebbles that kept clogging their gold washing equipment. Some of them collected the pebbles and mailed them to Tiffany & Company in New York for identification. Tiffany's response was immediate. The company sent a representative to Montana to negotiate purchasing rights. They recognized instantly that these were among the finest sapphires they had ever examined. Think about that. Prospectors were literally throwing away sapphires because they were looking for gold. And today, those sapphires would be worth far more per ounce than the gold those same prospectors were searching for. Now let us go back to something more common, something you really might find in your own backyard. Geodes. Most people have seen geodes in gift shops and science museums, cracked open to reveal sparkling crystal interiors. They are almost always presented as novelties, fun things to break open with kids. And yes, many geodes are common and inexpensive. But certain geodes from certain locations containing certain minerals are worth real money. The Keokuk geodes, found along the Iowa-Missouri-Illinois border region, are famous among mineral collectors. Most contain standard quartz crystals, but a small percentage contain unusual mineral formations, including kaolinite, millerite, pyrite, and occasionally even small deposits of pale blue celestine or selenite crystals with exceptional clarity. A geode with an uncommon interior can sell for several $100s to a serious collector. And the truly exceptional ones, the ones that contain rare mineral combinations or display unusual crystal growth patterns, have sold for over $1,000. These geodes weather out of limestone formations and end up in creek beds, road cuts, and plowed fields. Farmers in this 3-state area have been collecting them for generations. Most keep them as decorations on their porches or in their gardens. Very few have ever had them properly appraised. And that leads to something important. The value of these stones depends enormously on identification. An unidentified mineral specimen is worth whatever someone will pay for a pretty rock at a flea market.
A properly identified, documented, and presented mineral specimen enters an entirely different marketplace. Serious mineral collectors and dealers operate a global market worth hundreds of millions of dollars annually. Major mineral shows in Tucson, Denver, and Munich attract buyers who will pay 5- and 6-figure prices for exceptional specimens. And the people supplying those markets are often small-scale collectors and landowners who simply learned to recognize what they were finding. There is a practical lesson in all of this. Your local geology matters more than you probably think. The United States Geological Survey maintains detailed geological maps of every state. These maps show exactly what types of rock formations exist beneath your property. County extension offices and state geological surveys will often identify mineral specimens for free or for a small fee. University geology departments sometimes offer identification services as well. If you live in an area with volcanic rock, metamorphic formations, or ancient riverbeds, the odds of finding something valuable are higher than you might expect. Let us talk about one more stone that surprises people: jade. Most Americans think of jade as something from China, Guatemala, or New Zealand. Few people realize that Wyoming has produced some of the finest nephrite jade found anywhere in the world. Wyoming jade is so well regarded that the state designated it as the official state gemstone. High-quality Wyoming nephrite can display a deep, translucent green that jade carvers prize for sculpture and jewelry. Large boulders of jade have been found on the surface in areas around the Wind River Range, the Granite Mountains, and parts of the Sweetwater River region. Ranchers have used jade boulders as fence posts and doorstops. Some of those boulders, if properly cut and polished, would be worth tens of thousands of dollars based on weight and quality alone. The jade market is driven largely by demand from Asian buyers, particularly in China, where nephrite jade has been prized for thousands of years as the most important cultural gemstone. Wyoming jade of exceptional color and translucency has been exported to China and sold for prices that would astonish most Americans. A single boulder of high-quality nephrite jade can weigh several tons and be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. And some of these boulders have been sitting on private ranch land in Wyoming for as long as anyone can remember, treated as nothing more than large, heavy, greenish rocks. Turquoise is another one. The American Southwest has produced world-class turquoise for centuries. Native American communities mined and traded turquoise long before European contact. Mines in Arizona, Nevada, New Mexico, and Colorado have produced turquoise that commands extraordinary prices on the global gem market. Sleeping Beauty turquoise from Arizona is famous for its clean, even sky blue color. Bisbee turquoise from the copper mines near Bisbee, Arizona, is considered by many collectors to be among the finest ever produced. High-quality, natural Bisbee turquoise can sell for over $100 per carat, and exceptional pieces have commanded far more. Many of these famous mines are now closed or produce very limited quantities, which has driven prices for existing material even higher. And turquoise has a characteristic that makes it particularly easy to overlook. In its natural state, embedded in host rock, turquoise often appears as thin veins or small nodules within much larger formations of brown or gray stone. Without cutting and polishing, it can look like nothing more than a slightly greenish or bluish stain on ordinary rock. People who live in turquoise-producing regions may have turquoise on their property and never realize it because they are expecting to see polished blue stones sitting on the surface. That is almost never how turquoise presents itself in nature. Every stone we have discussed shares something in common. They are all hiding in plain sight. They have been hiding for decades, sometimes centuries, while people walked past them, kicked them aside, used them as landscaping fill, or tossed them into gravel piles. The geological wealth of the United States is genuinely extraordinary. This country contains world-class deposits of gemstones, minerals, and collectible specimens that rival anything found on any other continent. The barrier has never been access, it has been knowledge, and that is changing. The internet has made geological identification easier than it has ever been. Smartphone apps can now identify mineral specimens from photographs with surprising accuracy. Online communities of mineral collectors freely share identification tips, location data, and valuation guidance. The information that used to be locked inside university geology departments and professional mining companies is now available to anyone willing to spend an afternoon learning. So take a walk across your property this weekend. Look at the stones you have been ignoring. Pick up the ones with unusual colors, interesting textures, or unexpected weight. Look at the gravel in your driveway. Look at the rocks exposing creek banks and road cuts. Look at the stones turned up by your plow or uncovered by recent rains. Because somewhere out there, right now, someone is about to find a sapphire in their garden and mistake it for a piece of blue glass. Someone is about to crack open a geode from their creek bed and discover crystals that would make a museum curator reach for a checkbook. And someone is about to realize that the heavy green boulder their grandfather used as a fence post is worth more than the entire fence. If this video gave you a new reason to look twice at the ground beneath your feet, leave a like and subscribe, because the Earth has been leaving gifts on the surface for millions of years. Most people just haven't learned to recognize them yet.